Hello, everyone. Good morning. Paul Tranny here with the one and only Jesús Ramirez.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
Yay.
What's up, man?
Good to see you here.
Good to see you, too.
We were just looking at a photo earlier from like 2016.
Oh, yeah.
Which was like the first time, at least,
that we worked together, I think.
I mean, it was like the start of all of this.
Yes.
Many years ago. And here we are, 2019.
Wow. Yeah.
Man.
I'll pull that right up just so they can see how young and wonderful we look.
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
If we could switch to your
Look
screen.
at that.
He goes like, thumbs up. He's like, I'm killing it. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. You are killing it. And then Sean Dugan's like, what am I doing here?
Like between these two bozos.
So either way, super glad that you're here. Really happy that it is Photoshop, pretty much Photoshop week this week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Kind of want to click through that schedule. We do have you for a couple hours, but all this week on Adobe Live, it's all Photoshop and portfolio stuff. Thanks so much for Howard kicking it off. 8:30 a.m. was Daily Creative Challenge, XD related. Jesus, we have him for a couple hours as well. John Olson coming in 11 to 1. 1 to 3, The Life of Avex. So that's Vanessa. She does really cool work, and everybody has a really cool story. And I'm looking forward to kind of just getting all we can out of your
I'm just laughing. I just read Howard Pinsley comment, Paco Quick changed the background to the bridge.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, oh yeah, but now the bridge is actually out these gorgeous windows, as we can see through here in our brand new studio. So it's always gorgeous here and very nice. So want to welcome you. June, let us know where you're from. Christina, give us a shout out. We got Mariel from Austin. And everyone, especially if you're new, we want to welcome you as well. And that's the plan. We're going to have giveaways. We have some other fun things. Kind of talk about that right now, actually. Sticker Mule. We have this awesome giveaway that we're going to have in about 28 minutes, roughly. And yeah, we're going to have a random giveaway around that, and actually a discount code that's really sweet for making your own stickers and everything, so that'd be cool. So we also have the daily submissions. So if you don't want to leave your luck up to just merely chance, we have these daily challenges. We have one today. Tomorrow's a daily challenge. By day 3, we have portfolio reviews, which is kind of, I would say, extra special this week because it's all about sort of dusting off your portfolio and diving into that. So I'm kind of excited about all of this. So yeah, hopefully Jordan is, and everyone, and Jonathan, how you feeling, man?
I'm feeling great.
Feeling
I'm
good?
Here with you guys.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm here with you guys. How
Yeah,
can I not be great?
that's so nice. We're matching. We both have our coffees. We're like ready to go.
Hi, Paul.
Hi, Paul. They're like, we're so sick of seeing you in the morning, Paul. Go somewhere else, please. But yes, this segment brought to you by Phil's Coffee. So, Jesus is the best. I would agree. So, what's the plan, man, today? And by the way, do we need to point anyone? I'm glad you're showing off your portfolio. They're going to see how great you are.
Oh no.
Or like everything that you do, which is like super impressive. But yeah, what's the plan? Like over the course of the 3 days, and even like specifically today.
It's gonna be a little different than when people are used to watching me do. Usually, I just do. At least for the lives, like tips and tricks, tutorials, and things like that. This week, I'm just gonna rework on some of my old portfolio pieces, and with the knowledge that I've gathered over the years, how I would do those pieces now. Obviously, there's gonna be a lot of Photoshop tips and tricks in there, but it's not focused on that. It's focused more on the piece. And I'm gonna talk a little bit about my thoughts on portfolios and what they should include. My personal thoughts on that.
That sounds fantastic, and I think that is really cool. I feel like I don't know if that's, we didn't talk about that like back in art school, but the whole idea of like taking something that you worked on in the past, maybe it was just never there for you, or you're just approaching it from, like, how long have you been working like in Photoshop?
18 years, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so you have like 18 years worth of content that you can go back and point to and be like, wow, I did that. That's well, for you, it's probably great.
No.
For me, it'd be like, this is horrible.
No, it's. You know what? I may bring up my first composite. I don't think I have it with me today, but I'll bring it tomorrow and I'll show it to you guys.
If you have it, that would be really cool.
Maybe during a break I can find it really quick. But
okay, and I'm loving all this, man. And this is obviously your Behance page. You can obviously click that. If you just go to the info tab,
look at that.
You can get directly to a link to his his Behance. And then we also have the challenge tab as well. So I'm going to talk about these two real fast. Again, check out Jesus' stuff, follow him, go to the challenge tab. It's all about creating album art. So this is actually a very cool challenge. So you can check out the blog post right here. It's all about creating album art. Just doing some simple composites, posting it. Ultimately, we need that image on through this link. And then what we'll do is we're going to give Creative Cloud away tonight. So at the end of the day, after we have all the submissions, we'll pick one and reveal that tomorrow morning. But even if you don't win today, you still have a chance to work on it some more and enter this album art design challenge. So it's kind of like a dual, like you have 2 chances to win today, which I think is kind of special.
I think we're having technical difficulties.
Oh yeah, I don't know if this...
connection down here.
Yeah. So that's kind of fun. Oh, everybody saw that it said that. So
Well, here, while I work on that, I think I can find my first composite because I posted it.
You did post
on
it.
on Facebook at some point. So I'm just gonna have to scroll back and see if I can see it. All the new ones are there. Oh, look at that, Adobe Max. Here we go.
Okay.
My very, very first composite.
Yeah, we will.
When it loads.
Show that as a...
There we go. Look at that. Me feeding my friend's dog. Isn't that amazing?
Back in the day, were you like, this is so realistic?
Yeah, I was like,
Were you
oh my God. And see, this is
I'm so amazing.
You know, I don't want to date myself or anything, but this is back before, you know, you had cameras on your phone or whatever. So like, it was like the first time I used a digital camera. I was in college and they were renting them out, and it was this giant thing with like what was it, like a compact flash card, you know, like those big fat, almost like a VHS card type of thing, you know. And I don't know, it was like 3 megapixels or something, and you know, it was supposed to be top of the line at the time. And I just took those photos of the dog and myself, and I was like, oh man, I'm gonna make it seem like, you know, like a, what was that movie, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids or something like that. Yeah, that's what I had in mind. So that's what it was. or downsizing would be the downsizing. Yeah, exactly. Thank you for that, Matt Damon. Yeah, for sure.
This is awesome though. No, this is good. Like, and this is what we encourage, is just people like getting their hands dirty and kind of just diving in and making something. And you're right. Your barrier to entry was more complex, but today again, you have a phone, take some pictures.
$10 a month, you can get Photoshop.
$10 a month, you can get Photoshop,
which was hundreds of dollars when I was a kid.
Yeah, and chances are a lot of pirating. Yeah. And I'm like, you know, we can talk about that all day long. Yes, pirating's wrong, but you know, I'm sure I feel like the people that did pirate ended up buying it, that you know, ended up learning it long term. So,
for sure.
Anyway.
All right. Very cool.
Very cool.
So
we're not going to be remaking that composite.
No.
You got another one in mind.
You got another one in mind. Before we get into that, though, I want to talk a little bit about my thoughts on what portfolios should include. And please let me know if you agree,
This
disagree.
is looking really good.
Add on. Thank you.
Really into this.
There's 2 thoughts I want to share. First of all, I think you said that you've also had said this in the past, but 2 weeks ago I was watching one of the live streams. You guys might remember Claudia from Plant My Soul, and I told Samantha, who works with you guys, I'm going to steal that line because I already knew I was doing this stream. And she basically said, include in your portfolio the types of projects that you want to get hired to do. And I've never actually rationalized it that way. I just sort of did it without thinking about it. Yeah. But a lot of people don't know that I was a professional web designer and developer for almost 10 years. But if you look through my Behance or even my LinkedIn, I don't think there's any mention of that. Maybe I posted on LinkedIn that I know how to, you know, do PHP or something, right? But it's not like my main thing. Yeah. Because these days I don't want to get hired to do that type of work anymore. And if you look through my Behance, most of my work is composites. Not all of them. I think like 90% of them are composites, and they're all personal projects. And that's my second thought that I wanted to share with you guys. I'm a really big believer in personal projects, and one of my really good friends, Glyn Dewis, photographer out of the UK, is a really big fan of doing personal projects that then become his work. He's really well known for taking these really cool portraits and now he does corporate kit, and then he makes these really cool portraits. And I mean, I know him well, and I can see his style in this. Like the hues that he uses on that, on the shadows and that green, like that's totally his style, and that's how he developed it by working with personal projects. He's also a big fan of series. That's not something that I do, but I think it works well for him and for a lot of people. So he took these photos of these animals, I believe at a zoo, and then he photoshopped them into like their natural environments. So he did a whole series on that. So that's like cool. Another thing that I would like to share with everybody, that because usually people will tell you, well, I don't have a portfolio. Like, what do I do, Paul? I don't have a portfolio, and if I don't have a portfolio, I can't get a job. Like, I can't get a client. My answer to that is, just work on something that you're passionate about and that you want to get paid for. I've been really lucky that through my compositing work, I've actually gotten jobs. And one of the pieces that I'm going to work on today is this one, where I made myself look older in Photoshop. And I was actually contacted by a well-known publisher, Condé Nast.
Which is really big. I mean, that's like awesome.
They're big,
that's huge.
And they wanted me to do work for them. They were working on a video, and they wanted me to take a model and make her seem older. I don't have the final video with me since I don't own it, but I do have, and I can show you the images that I turned in. So this is the original image, and this is the file that I ended up submitting to them. So it's just making the model look older. Yeah. And they, morphed it in the video and did something cool with it. But all this came through me working on a personal project that I just shared online. And, that was the type of work that I was looking to do, composites and things like that. So somebody found me online, somebody from their design department contacted me and said, hey, you see what you did in that photo? We want the same thing with this photo. And, and it goes back to that point that I was making earlier, that you should be posting the type of work that you want to get hired for. So that's like the main topic for me today. Post things that you want to get hired for.
Because it sounds like you had a whole other career doing something else.
Yes.
Like doing web design. I think I saw Andrew said you made his website.
I did, Andrew Kavanaugh. I designed his website, exactly.
I love it.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's what I used to do, or whatever. That's like not my selling point these days. So that's really cool. Because you do, if you put a lot of work into something, you kind of want to put it out there, but like if you don't want to be doing that stuff, don't put it out there.
Exactly. So, I just want to answer one of the comments. Michael said, Jesus still has his hair when he's old, so that's cool. So I'm pretty sure that I will, because my grandfather, who unfortunately just passed away at 96, still had his hair, and it looked just like mine.
What?
So I'm pretty sure I'm safe with the hair at least.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's glorious. I'm into it.
But yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's that's most of the battle. As a guy, you're just like, I'm glad there's hair in my head.
Yeah.
That's all you, honestly.
Yeah.
That's like most of life makes you happy.
Yeah. And in 2 years I'll be fully gray, but but it'll be there.
No, this is just wisdom. Just wisdom visible is what I like to call it.
Yeah. So
into it.
So yeah, man, that's my whole thought on portfolios. Just put out stuff that you want to work with, that you want to get paid to do. That is.
Yeah, and let us know if you have any questions around portfolios, like throughout the whole day. Quite frankly, I will say that like your portfolio has like a consistent look. Like so does Glenn's.
Yeah.
Has like a consistent look, which is very nice.
Yes.
We could talk about style. Like how did you get such a consistent look here?
Well, I think it stems from my love of movies. If you notice, I mean, just right here on the screen now, there's basically, 2 shots that are from a movie, Spider-Man Into the Multiverse. It's a cartoon, but I made them look like, and I'll click on it just to show people what I did. Really cool. So this is a composite based on the new movie Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, but I actually made this when the teaser trailer came out over a year ago, and I'm a big Spider-Man fan. So as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh man, I gotta make something with Spider-Man. And these are the Adobe stock images that I used for that project. And actually, I'm a big fan of Adobe stock. If you actually look at my shirt,
Jesus is actually made with Adobe stock.
I am, exactly.
Is the video most of the video stuff, quite frankly.
Yeah.
But yes,
my frame is actually polo trannies, as you can see.
We are both wearing the black shirt. I like the cool design on the front, which is also from Adobe stock.
Adobe
as well.
stock.
I think this is really important what you did. I'm so thankful you did all the references, like you know what you started with and where it ended up.
Right.
You know, because you're giving credit where credit's due, which is good.
And now that we're talking about Adobe stock, I'll just mention one other thing, and then we'll get into Photoshop, because I know that's what people really want to see. But I always like talking about this piece, the Adobe Make a Masterpiece campaign, which I did for Adobe, what was it, 3 years ago now? Maybe 4, I don't even remember. But it was a campaign where Adobe hired 5 artists to recreate paintings that had been lost through history, either by damage or theft or whatever. And mine was the Ghent Ultra piece, which is this guy here. Before I show you the piece, I just want to mention that I used 115 Adobe stock images, over 1,500 layers, and the document was 4.7 gigabytes. And the first Photoshop tip for you guys today is that a Photoshop file can only be how many gigabytes, Paul?
Oh, a PSD?
Yeah.
2 gigs.
2, that's right. So I had to use the PSB
for big. We were real creative with naming
that.
Photoshop big.
Photoshop big, exactly. And people have asked me, and as far as I know, there's no difference between them. The only difference is that you can have a bigger, larger file.
Which is interesting. Like, I kind of wonder, why does it need to? Who knows?
Yeah. I'm sure there's some technical reason that I'm not smart enough to understand.
1,500 layers, too.
Yeah, crazy. And actually, I don't think this laptop will be able to open up that file, because even my desktop has problems.
Wow. We'll start it today and view it tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. So these are all the Adobe stock images that I used. The original's on the right-hand side. The recreation, the one that I made, is on the left. And I'm scrolling down quickly. And by the way, these little ornaments thing here on the horse, they're like also little mini composites. So I actually took in like 4 or 5 different images to try to match the look of the real ones. So even within the composite, there's like smaller composites in there.
That is a lot of detail. I don't think they could have picked a more complex image, except for who does it? Hieronymus Bosch did the Purgatory, did Dante's Inferno, it's a 3-panel. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Hieronymus Bosch, am I saying that right? Very detailed, but I can't imagine a more detailed piece that you'd have to work on. Did you tick somebody off at Adobe?
Well, maybe. It only gave me a couple weeks to work on it.
Talk about a challenge. They're here... He'll never finish it.
Yeah, and that's they told me they didn't think I was gonna finish it in time, and I was just telling you the story before the stream. This was right before Adobe Max, and it was in San Diego that year, and I worked on this to the last possible minute, and I thought to myself, the airport's only 30 minutes away from where I live. I can take a 15-minute nap, make it to the airport on time. Fell asleep, didn't wake up till the plane had landed in San Diego. So as you can imagine, I was freaking out.
Yeah, you were probably freaking, and you needed that sleep, though, by the way.
Yeah.
Worked on it at the very last minute. That's dedication, commitment to craft.
Yeah, and these are just some examples of the type of compositing that I had to do, because obviously I couldn't find the actual, same pose and materials or whatever. So I had to use, these napkins for the hats and that folded towel for the sleeve. And this is actually a really interesting one, because this is the fur the cat was a fur lining for the hats. But in real life, that's probably what they used, right? Like an actual animal fur. So I kind of did the same thing digitally, just because I couldn't find the actual fur linings on Adobe stock. But if you have those hats, take a photo of them, upload them to Adobe stock, because you never know who might need them.
A good point. Yeah. Make some money off this guy here.
Yeah.
Because he spent, 1,500 photos? Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
I think you just point out real fast, you one of the first tips that I've learned 20 years ago was sampling from real life, using real photos, because guarantee you there's probably a hairbrush in Photoshop that's going to look fake compared to an actual photo of fur, right? Would you agree?
Right, yeah.
Because you could have gone the easy way, there's probably something that looks close to fur.
Yeah.
It's not fur.
Right.
It's not going to look the same.
Right. I think, there's probably a handful of people in the world that could probably
paint that.
Yeah. But to get to that level...
like Voodoo Val can.
Right.
She'll be joining us later. I think it's awesome. So... Very
Somebody
cool.
wrote how much that you spent just looking through all the stock images. I actually spent a lot of time, but luckily for me at that time, I think if I remember correctly, it was during the pre-release of Adobe Sensei. So I was able to use
some of those advanced search features.
yeah, where you can upload a photo, and then it would return similar images. So what I did actually, I took pictures so like on some of these, you see how the hands are in specific, because I wanted to get it as close as I could to the original. So what I did is I took photos of my hand in those positions, and then I searched for it on Adobe Stock, uploading an image. And basically what I'm talking about, just so that people know what I mean, is if you go to Adobe Stock, there's this little camera icon. You can click on that, and you can browse for a photo. And I mean, I don't know what this is going to pull up, but this is the actual image promoting this stream. So yeah, so it just...
And this is the fun thing. So you can match on all attributes.
Yeah.
The content itself. Even if you just want to match the color, you have your hero image and you want other images to match.
Yeah.
You could do color.
So we can do color, and then it just refines it by similar colors.
Should hopefully grab some of that.
Yeah, so we have some of that blue, some of that green. So like this is perfect. See how we have the blue gradient going to green? We have that here, blue gradient going to green. So it's pretty cool. Now, when I did it, we didn't have this cool attribute feature. It was just the image, but it did a pretty good job, and it did save me some time. So thank you.
And by the way,
Sensei.
your whole goal was you were required to kind of use Adobe Stock because you're kind of promoting Adobe Stock.
So the only parameters I was given was to use Adobe Stock and Photoshop and nothing else. So that was it.
Very cool. So I will say that like if you are working on maybe a personal project, it's in some cases it'd make more sense to just take a picture of your hand. You know, that's another way. Potentially of doing that. I know. Does that make sense?
Makes total sense.
Yeah. So.
And we can keep talking more about some of the other pieces that I worked on tomorrow and Thursday.
Cool.
I do want to talk a little bit about Dimension. Maybe not today because it's not really related, but as you know, I've really been getting into Adobe Dimension recently, which is a compositing app. You can composite 3D models into your photos. There's actually only one photo, which is the background, like the buildings in the background, but everything else are Adobe Stock 3D objects with just composited together to make it seem like a photorealistic room. And there's a nice little video that shows you what that looks like. And I rendered different angles, which took me about 8 hours to render each of these images. And actually, you're in here somewhere, Paul, I think, aren't you? Is your logo in there somewhere?
I don't know if I really have a logo, but
I thought I put you in there somewhere. Yeah. Anyway, I know you're in here somewhere. You're in there somewhere.
Very sweet of you.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So again, that's all 3D from like the same way you used Adobe Stock. You used maybe Adobe Stock to find those objects.
Yeah.
To make that composite, and just in this case, it's 3D. Obviously.
Exactly, and just to show people, because now this is how I work. I think of something and I think about 30 other things to show everybody, but you can click on the 3D tab, and then you have all your assets in categories: models, slides, materials, and I just went through the models section to find 3D models.
Yeah, and there's free stuff.
There's free stuff. Yeah, there is.
There's a trick for
there
finding...
is. Here, I'll show.
Yeah. Thank you.
If from Dimension, actually, I think you can find the free ones, if I'm not mistaken. So. And
there might be a way through the browser, but I can't. I need to know.
The only way I know how to get to the free ones is by I'm not gonna, oh, here we go. On the plus icon, I think if you go into browse Adobe Stock, I think you go to the free ones. Yeah. So So if you're on Dimension, this is Adobe Dimension, the 3D app that we were just talking about. You can click on this plus icon, and if you click on browse Adobe Stock, it takes you to the free assets that you can download. You can just, as you can see, I downloaded a whole bunch of them for that project I just showed you.
Yes.
So you can just find them all and just play around with them and incorporate them into your composites. And I just want to give a shout out to my friend Teresa Jackson, who showed me that trick, because I always assumed that if you clicked on browse Adobe Stock from Dimension, you would just get, like the regular assets. So they're actually categorized or grouped together with the free assets.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
And then also baked right into Dimension.
Exactly.
Some free stuff.
Oh, and by the way, this is not on my Behance page yet because I've been too busy to put it up, but that's one of my latest composites.
Nice.
Using Adobe stock images, believe it or not.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure people are dying to see some Photoshop now, so why don't we get started with that? Is that cool?
Yeah.
All right.
Me.
Cool. So this is, of course, Adobe Photoshop, and again, I'm just gonna bring up that that photo just to remind everybody what I'm gonna be working on today, which is this photo of me back in 2012, and I made myself look older. And as you were talking about earlier, I've been using Photoshop for like 18 years now, and in that time, you obviously learn a trick or two. So when I did this composite, I used a destructive technique that wasn't very efficient. And in, what was that, 6 years ago? And in those 6 years, I've actually learned more efficient ways of creating this that I think give you more flexibility and just give you better results. So that's what we're gonna do today. I'll start out by showing you how I did it in the past and why I think that technique is not as good, although you can get good results as you see there. It's just more tedious.
Yeah. Into it.
Let's do it. So we're gonna start with a photo of me 6 years ago, because as we were discussing earlier, if I use a photo of me today, then you wouldn't need to do anything.
Yeah, it would already be done.
Yeah, it would just be done.
'Cause you're so old.
Yeah,
I was gonna mention that. You're just pretty old.
Yeah, I am.
I'm just joking.
All right. So I guess I'll start by showing you the original technique. So the first step in almost everything for me is to isolate whatever I'm working with, just to keep it away from its background. Back when I did it for the first time using Photoshop CS6, I did it with the quick selection tool. You know, you can just click and drag and all that good stuff.
Which is pretty darn awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, I use quick selection a lot.
Oh yeah, me too.
But I think you're probably going to show us an easier one.
Oh yeah. Well, with something like this, it's, you know, there's clearly contrast between the foreground and background. I can use Adobe Sensei, the same technology that we used to find the images on Adobe Stock, we can use to make a selection. So with the quick selection tool active, if you look over here, you can see a select subject button that I can just click. Adobe Sensei analyzes the image and it makes a very, very good selection right off the bat. So
that's awesome. And by the way, like, it's very obvious what the subject is. Try these on photos where you aren't sure, like, is it really going to grab that?
Right.
And it will.
And it will, right.
It's so amazing.
And like, you know, to be fair, sometimes it's like 80% there, but that's already totally good. And
80% of the work you didn't have to do.
And that's the thing that I don't think a lot of people understand. Like, I worked as a production artist for many years as well, and saving like 30 seconds is like, you know, that's like your lunch break sometimes.
Exactly. Don't let the client know about this.
Yeah.
Nobody needs to know about your tools.
Exactly. No, but seriously, like, if you're spending an extra 30 seconds on 100 images, you know, like, time adds up, right? So that's what I tell people. Just because it, you know, doesn't capture every single pixel that you want to capture doesn't mean it's not a good tool. But anyway, with that selection active, I'm just going to create a layer mask and boom.
People are loving it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so from there, Thiago obviously will tighten this up. But what was that, and just to kind of recap what you clicked, because maybe some people don't even know about that.
Yeah, so with a selection active, see that selection? I can click on this little icon here, which is
the lower
right there, right down there. And boom, the background goes away.
And you're not holding down any shortcut keys.
Not holding down any shortcut keys, which, by the way, if you press Control-Shift-D, it brings back a selection. So a lot of people don't know that. People know Control-D to deselect, but Control-Shift-D brings back your previously used selection.
I'm writing that down for me, because I did not know that. That's good.
So
and
Control-Shift-D.
There's a shortcut to cut out the background. If you hold Alt, try that. Let's just see what happens.
Yeah, hold and click on the layer mask.
Yeah. There we go.
I disappear. Yeah.
So it does the reverse. Because sometimes you might select the background, you know, of something, and then that does that.
Yeah,
blah, blah, blah.
and just to like really show people what's going on here. So if I just click on a layer mask without a selection, I get a white layer mask. So white reveals, black conceals, different levels of gray give you different levels of opacity, right? And the keyboard shortcut that Paul just mentioned, if you hold Alt on Windows, Option on the Mac, and click on the layer mask icon, it gives you the opposite, a black layer mask which hides everything. And obviously, if you have a selection active, and by the way, I just use my keyboard shortcut, Control-Shift-D, to bring back the last selection, and do the Alt on the icon, it cuts out whatever you selected.
Nice.
Fantabulous.
Into it. Boom, that is fantabulous, as our background shows.
And
Fireworks.
Or we can click on,
We can do more. We got so many more tips. He's so excited, but we're excited to dive into chat and win right now.
Oh, let's do it.
Welcome back, everyone, and it's chat and win time, so just say something in the little chat window there. Be like, hey, let's go Photoshop. Preferably English words, just so we know a human's there and not an alien.
Or tell us what version of Photoshop you started in. I started with Photoshop 7. How about you, Paul?
A long time ago.
Okay, Photoshop 1.
Like 3 point, there were, no wait, 2.5 to 3 when they just,
Before layers?
after they introduced layers.
Okay.
Like the first version that where we had layers.
Wow.
But the text would rasterize and all that stuff. So like,
Nice.
yeah, that was like 92, 93, 94.
Okay, so you got what? You got about 6
Photoshop
years on me or something.
CS3. Yeah, it wasn't pretty back then. But yeah,
You know
it's
Burt
good.
Monroy, right?
Burt Monroy,
Yeah, Photoshop user number 4 or 6, something like that.
Was he really?
Yeah, that's what he said.
Wow.
He said he has been using Photoshop since before Adobe owned it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Way back in the day.
That's a long time. I'll tell you what, brand new. We have Nicholas Frederico. Congratulations, Nicholas Frederico. You don't even know what you won. You get Sticker Mule stickers. A total of, how many is it? 100 stickers? I had to fact check that because that's a lot of stickers.
Wow.
So, Frederico, you are the proud owner of 100 stickers. You could start tagging other people's laptops with all those stickers.
Yeah.
Just get so many, fill yours, and just like tag.
And like randomly at Starbucks, not like your friends.
Right. Not your friends at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, just tag other people's laptops. But not to worry, everybody else gets a discount as well. This is like 10 for $1 or thank you, 10 for $1. Fact check that, which is also great. Adobe Live URL right there. So everybody gets a goodie. And congratulations to Frederico. I feel like we're all winners because you're saving us time by showing us these tips, by the way. CS3, good to hear. Again, you just showed a magic button with select subject and then masking. If you know those two things, you're well on your way.
Way ahead of. I used to use the eraser tool when I started because I didn't know about masks.
Yeah, no, I'm into it.
Yep. All right, so back to the image. So right now I have this, you know what, I'm gonna make these icons larger. If you go into the panel options, you can change the thumbnails and I'll make the thumbnail larger. So that
do one more. Well, no,
I'll do it again.
Show me, sorry.
Oh,
yeah, go back in there.
If you click on this, on the flyout menu, which are these four little lines here on the right-hand side, each panel has them, by the way. And that's where Adobe hides the good stuff.
Yeah.
So if you click on this panel, on the flyout menu, you can go into, I already lost it. Oh, panel options. And just, you can change the size. Yeah, so then you guys could, that was easier to see. What?
Here's another thing that I do, which I think is really huge as you get into very complex composites, layer bounds. Do you ever do that?
No, what's that?
I just showed you a great
Oh my
tip.
God. Oh my God, show me.
You will love that.
Show me. So,
okay, so now just go ahead and hit OK.
Okay.
Just do a new layer and paint a dot right up here.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't paint a dot.
But like it'll actually show you. So when you're showing that composite of 1,500 images, it'll show you. You just see that little pixel in the corner. It'll actually show you that scarf.
Yeah. So let's show people again. So look, I just painted that.
And again, that could be super small.
Right.
And you'll still see.
I'll do one super small and a new layer. So
like
tiny little one.
Yeah.
There, tiny little one. See that?
Boom. In this case, maybe it doesn't show its capabilities as well because now you have two dots that look the same size in the panel.
Right, but you can see that one is a tiny little dot and one's a bigger dot.
Yeah.
And without that option that you just showed.
And another thing I usually do in there in panel options is I turn off. Don't add the very bottom. Don't add copy to everything. Right. And don't even expand effects because like if you're doing a lot of stuff, I don't need that copy expanded. Like don't make it messy. Is kind of what
And just to show people what that is if I were to duplicate that layer, Control J, Command J on the Mac is that copy thing. That's what you're talking about. Yeah.
And typically if you name it, star, and then you start duplicating those stars.
Yeah.
You get it. So
Yeah.
that's...
And then the layer effect things that you're talking about is, I'm just gonna add a whole bunch of layer effects on this, is that right there.
Yeah, that gets pretty
So it just gets,
stacked up.
yeah, compressed.
Yeah.
It just gets collapsed like that. Awesome.
All right.
All right. So I'll quickly,
Perfect.
what's that? What?
Oh, nothing. Somebody's asking about the Sticker Mule URL.
So with the layer mask selected, because we did that whole alt thing, right? So now we got the opposite of what we wanted. But if you ever get the opposite of what you want in Photoshop in a mask, you can always press Control-I, Command-I to invert, and it just swaps them. Or if you forget the keyboard shortcut, you can just click on invert in the properties panel. Either or.
Nice.
Nice. So now that this is isolated, I can keep working with it. And what I'm gonna do is just create a solid color fill, just so that I can have a background and I don't see the checkerboard, just so that I can see. It just makes me happier when I see it. It doesn't confuse me. So, and I don't need to worry about the hair because, you know, I'm gonna composite more hair in there. So I don't need to worry about making a better selection. This is good for now. So I'm gonna show you the old technique. So the old technique that I did is I duplicated this layer, and then I duplicate it to work non-destructively, or to have a backup in case I make a mistake, because this is going to be destructive. So the old way I did it was by applying the layer mask, which means that it deletes the pixels, so they're gone. I can't come back and undo that, which is why I have the duplicate, to, you know, give myself a way to get back to old pixels in case I need them. And are you familiar with the patch tool, Paul?
Yeah, I am.
So basically, the patch tool could be used to like remove blemishes, right?
I sometimes, there's the patch tool and the move tool, which do the opposite of one another.
Yes. So like if I wanted to like remove something, you know, like a blemish or something, see that? See how I'm like just removing his blemishes?
Selecting what you want to
Selecting,
remove.
right, and then finding a source, right? You can actually do the opposite with this. So if I were to bring him into this document, you can do so. By the way, if you press, right now I press Control-T, but I can't see the transformation handles because the image is zoomed out. I can press Control-0, and Photoshop zooms out to bird's eye view, and I can see the transformation handles. And then I can scale it accordingly. And I'm scaling it. I no longer have to hold the Shift key to keep it constrained.
Is it still taking you a while to...
But the problem is that in my desktop, because if you actually go to the HelpX website on Adobe, it's basically like, what would I call it? Like a manual for every app that Adobe has.
Okay.
In there's actually a piece of code that you can put in your Photoshop preferences folder that reverts it back to the old.
Ah.
So I have a video on that on YouTube. On my YouTube channel, there's a video on how to bring back the Shift key.
Okay.
So I actually brought it back on my desktop, but not my laptop. So I'm all over the place now. Anyway, so I'm just scaling the image down and just making it more or less the same size and shape as my face. Just because I'm going to steal this guy's wrinkles. And I'm going to place the guy right about there. And what I'm going to do is just make a selection. It doesn't have to be perfect around this face. Create a layer mask and apply it because I don't need those other pixels. Now, again, this is the old technique. So then I would select both layers and merge them, Control-E, Command-E, and the Mac to merge. And the reason that I'm merging them is so that I could use the patch tool. And the reason that I want to use the patch tool is because I want to steal his wrinkles, right? But watch what happens. If I make a selection around these wrinkles, right? And then click and drag them and place them over to my face, it actually removes his wrinkles. So it's actually a technique that you could use. You can use a photo of a younger person to remove wrinkles, right?
Yeah.
But that's not what I want. I want the opposite. So I'm gonna undo that. Also new keyboard shortcut, Control-Z, no longer the 3 keys.
Yeah, right.
So with the patch tool selected, I have source selected. See that, source? But I can actually change it to destination. So then what I did in my original composite was send it over to destination. If you press Control-H, Command-H on the Mac, you hide any extras. That selection is an extra. Then you can go into Edit, Fade, the Fade command. The Fade command allows you to scale back the opacity of the last command, and also in some cases apply a blending mode. In this case, I can't apply a blending mode. but I can see how I'm fading the wrinkle. So then I could match it to my skin tone, to my face, to the shadows and highlights of my face, and then press OK. And
I'm loving it.
And I would just do that over and over again, but you can already see the problem, right? After I apply that fade command and I apply another one of, here, let's do the chin now. Another one of these wrinkles and fade it as well. You'll notice that if I want to go back and change the original wrinkle that I placed in there, I wouldn't be able to.
Yeah.
You know, unless I, you know, took this layer here and then masked it or something.
Yeah.
It just becomes really tedious. So that original composite took me a long time to do because I had to do, I was using this destructive.
Yeah, destructive. Also, although I will say, even doing this destructive method, you're using some cool, like, pro tips, because I didn't know about fading the opacity under the image was it under edit? It was under edit.
Yeah. So and I'll show that again because I know a lot of.
Okay, good.
So like I'm just gonna paint with blue or whatever. So I'm just gonna paint with blue, right? So no matter what you do in Photoshop, just like I painted that, and actually I gotta do it again because it only works. It like right there I painted, then I dragged the layer up so it wouldn't work anymore. So it's only like the last step basically. So like if I paint over something, right? I can go into edit, fade. The brush tool now in this case. Notice I can change the blending mode of that paint. In this case, it's not going to really show because let me do it on the actual layer so it really shows there. Paint it over my face. Fade tool, and I can change the blending mode to something
and
else.
And that's after you've painted.
After you painted, yeah.
You decide you want to apply a blend mode.
Yes.
Wow.
And you can change that, or maybe scale back the opacity and also apply a blending
And I guess
mode.
that only shows up when you're actually on that same layer, you know, painting on
Yeah, because if I move on to another layer and start painting again, and I go into Edit Fade Brush Tool, it'll do the new one, not the old one.
Okay.
So you can only use the fade command after you've applied whatever adjustment you made. And actually, see, this is what happens, Paul. You get me rolling, and now
sorry about that.
I have to like show these things. So if you, for example, if I were to go into like image adjustment curves, right, and just do a curves adjustment, right, and you know that when you do a curves adjustment, you also add saturation to an image. See how saturated my face looks? But maybe you only wanted to make it darker, not necessarily mess around with the saturation. You can use the fade command, edit, fade curves, and change the blending mode to luminosity. And see that? It just keeps it just changes the luminance values, but not color or saturation.
Nice.
So you might be wondering, well, that's cool, but you know, I use smart objects. I work non-destructively. Well, you can create a smart object, go into image adjustment curves. That applies obviously a curves adjustment to that layer. But look at here, see curves? This right here on the right-hand side, this little tiny icon that I don't know if you guys could see, like way off to the side there, is the fade command. If I double click on here, look what comes up, see? And I can just reduce the opacity, and I can also change it to luminosity. So it's basically the fade command with a smart object.
Yeah. I want to answer a question. JM says, you know, he's been using Photoshop for years and saying that he has to stop and relearn something, you know, and a habit that's ingrained. By the way, like if you're doing something and it's working for you, there's no need to change it.
True.
Right. I'm glad you're doing this because you're what Jesus is pointing out, some easier ways to do things. Because if you're going back and having to redo stuff, there's shorter ways of doing it. But if you're, I don't want to change your workflow. If it's working strong for you there, buddy.
So two things about that. Because people ask me, what's the best technique for whatever? And my answer is always like, I'm not a fan of techniques, I'm a fan of results. So if you work destructively, use the eraser tool, but your work is excellent, then...
Who am I to argue? You got paid for it. Everybody's happy. Like, hey, it's working.
You don't
for
name your layers, all right? You know, whatever.
That's cool.
Obviously, I do have opinions on what's more efficient and saves you more time, but that's just me. You know, like that doesn't mean you have to do it.
Yeah. So we're hoping to add to your workflow. We're not looking to replace something that's already working.
And
for
actually,
you.
I was a TA at Adobe Max many years ago for a good friend of mine, Aaron. I don't know if you know Aaron Blaze. Paul?
Oh yeah,
Aaron Blaze. He used to work for Disney. He's
amazing.
He designed. I believe the character's name is what is Simba's girlfriend in Lion King?
Simba's girlfriend in Lion King. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever that character was, he was the guy that designed it. And
You can
also
say it out loud.
Nala. Thank you, Nala. Yeah. So he designed Nala from Lion King and also designed the tiger in Aladdin. So he's a legitimate artist for Disney, or was. And I was a TA at his Adobe Max lab, and he was teaching people how to do this kind of stuff. And he said something that I thought was brilliant, which was, he said, I'm the worst Photoshop user in the world, yet he does these kinds of paintings. It's like, I know I have the worst technique. I know that I work destructively. And, I know that there's more efficient ways of doing this. But he's like, but I'm not here to like teach you how to use Photoshop. I'm here to teach you how to like draw. And I was like, yeah, like you don't need to know everything I know to create fantastic work. I just happen to be like a nerd about these things and I just want to know everything about it. But I always tell people you don't have to know how to do everything. You just have to know how to do it so that it works for you and for what you want to make. Yeah,
exactly. And I would say that he's also using it in a different way, because every time maybe he works destructively or doesn't like something.
Yeah.
I've heard somebody call it like sort of pencil mileage, if you will. He just redraws it and it gets better and better each time.
Right.
So even though he's recreating, you could be like, oh, why didn't you copy and paste and move the, no. It's pencil mileage. He's getting better as he draws.
Yeah, this is him when he was younger working on
He is amazing. His session is easily one of the most popular at Max. I mean, look at his work. You could just tell.
Yeah.
And Aaron Blaze.
Actually, this year I was TA for two people, Aaron Blaze and the great Paul Tranny.
Oh, thank you so much. Was that
you did a 3D class? No, that was 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
3-4 years ago. That was
Were you in the back? You're like, no, don't do it that way, Paul. No. All right.
Oh no, that was.
I gotta help so many people.
I was just happy to be there.
Yeah.
And then the next year is when I did the Adobe Make a Masterpiece thing that I showed, and that was my first year speaking at Max.
Nice.
But anyway, so back to this thing. So that was the old way of doing it. And now I came up with because I was thinking about it, like because I was looking through my Behance and I saw it and I thought, man, that thing, I wouldn't do it like that anymore. Like how would I do it now? So then I thought, well, I probably would start with an image of an older person, obviously, and I found this image. So completely open here. When I worked on this project back in 2012, 2011, whenever it was, there was no Adobe stock, so I used the competitor. So the Adobe stock
that shall not be named.
Yeah.
No, just kidding.
To be honest, I don't remember. It was either iStock, Dreamstein, or maybe even Fotolia for all I know, which eventually became Adobe stock. So I really don't remember which one I used for the image, but once Adobe stock came out, I was instantly converted. But the way that I thought about doing it is just to fill the when you're transforming. See, I have the transformation handles. You can actually reduce the opacity to see what's under, and then you can sort of place it there. And also, you might know, Paul, because to be honest, I don't remember the little pivot point. Like the reference point. It's not showing, and that changed in the last version, if I'm not mistaken, by default. So you have to enable it now. So right now, when I rotate, it rotates from the center, right? And if you hold Alt Option on the Mac and click, like for example, like I'm gonna click up here in the corner so that you see, it changes the reference point, but you really can't see it, right? You don't know where it is. So I'll change it to this side now. See that? See how it changed? So you really can't see it. If you want to see it, you can press Control K, Command K on the Mac. And it's under, I believe, Tools. Yeah, under Tools. You see where it says Show Reference Pivot when using Transform? If I recall correctly, that used to be on by default. It no longer is. So you have to enable it. And you can press Control T, Command T to transform, and there it is. You see this little point there?
Yeah.
I'll press Control 0 to do that zoom out thing that I showed you, and now you can place it anywhere you want. So what I really want to do is place the pivot point like, I don't know, maybe the corner of my eye there, and then move the image down to the corner of his eye, like right about there. And then scale that down. If you hold Alt Option on the Mac, it scales to the reference point. See that? And then I can zoom in and then rotate it and do all that fun stuff to try to match it as best as you can.
That's good. So I like this pivot point because you're defining that one area.
Yeah.
This is going to be the sharp area. It might be already sharp, but it's getting everything else sharp.
Right.
I kind of feel.
Yeah.
But I don't do that, and thank you for that tip.
There you go. And I'm just clicking on these handles just to try to match his face to mine just a little bit better.
And what was that?
I'm still under the transform, Control T, and then these little handles that you might not be see. Like I haven't moved this one.
How did you bring those up?
They're there. You just
Did you double click on a corner?
No, they're. Oh, I'm sorry. I right clicked and clicked on warp. Sorry.
Okay,
about
there
that.
we go.
Right clicked and clicked on warp. Yeah, thank you for that. Anyway, so I'm just clicking and dragging on these guys and try to match the face as best as I can. And you don't have to be perfect. I mean, this is gonna work, and you can just hit return to commit the changes, and just create a selection. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm working on destructively, so I can always come back and change it. So, and actually I missed a spot here, so I'm just gonna paint with white to reveal, and I'm gonna press Control Alt G, Command Option G on the Mac to clip it to the layer below, so that it just clips to my face, right?
Again, another like some of the fundamentals of Photoshop are layer masks and then clipping masks.
Yeah.
So hopefully everyone's aware of those two things.
Yeah. And there's and on a regular layer, there's two ways of getting a clipping mask. You can press Control Alt G, Command Option G on the Mac, or you can hover between two layers and hold Alt and see how the cursor changes to that little square thing. That creates the clipping mask. If you're working with an adjustment layer like curves, you'll have a clipping mask icon here that you can just click. So 2 ways with a layer.
I always forget about
3
that
ways with a.
What do you usually use?
The shortcut Control Alt G.
I use the line.
The line
I
thing.
hover and click with the Alt key and Command key.
Yeah. So actually here's another keyboard shortcut that I just thought. So when you're working in Photoshop, you always have to keep in mind where the focus is. So you see how this little white line here in the layer thumbnail right here, there's a line, you see that? So if I paint, I'm gonna paint blue, right? Because I'm painting on that layer. But if I click on this icon here, now I'm on the layer mask. So if I paint, I'm painting on the layer mask. I'll paint with black so it's more obvious. See that? See how I'm painting the layer mask? There's actually a keyboard shortcut to switch between those two. Do you know what they are?
The what? For what?
To switch the focus from the layer mask to the layer.
Oh, no, I don't know.
So notice how the focus, the little white outline, is on the layer mask, excuse me. If you want to switch it over without clicking, like that, you press Control 2. Control and the number 2 and it switches.
Is it a toggle?
No. So
okay, good, because I don't want it a toggle, by the way.
And if you want to switch it to the layer mask icon like I just did there, you press Control / which is Command / So you can just remember those. That way you don't have to, because usually like at home I have 2 monitors, right? So if I have my layers panel here and I'm working on this monitor to come like all the way over here and then click and then come all the way back, because some people are like, well, why do you even need to remember that, And again, it's one of those things that, it saves you like 3 seconds, but again, if you add it up.
Yeah, totally. And you're always making that mistake. Like you know the confidence of Control 2, you're working on that actual layer, not the mask.
Right.
So that's good.
Yep. Okay, so we're back at this on this layer. So like, how do I blend these two together, right? And in the newest version of Photoshop, you can just hover over the blending modes and try to find a good one, right? Usually I know where to go, right? And most people haven't noticed, but there's little lines. See these little lines? There's a little line there, little line there, little line there. That's because the blending modes are grouped into categories. And usually the first blending mode will tell you more or less what it does, right? So normal, it just means that it's normal, it's not gonna change. If I go to dissolve, it's not gonna change either. Dissolve simply means it becomes like these little dot pattern thing if you reduce the opacity. But if you don't change the opacity, it doesn't blend, just like normal. Normal doesn't blend unless you bring down the opacity. The first one here is darken, which means that every blending mode in that category is going to darken the image, right? Make it darker. In this category, lighten. So it's gonna lighten every blending mode in that category. Then we have the contrast blending modes, which starts with overlay, which means that it's going to both darken and lighten the image based on the luminance values of the pixels of the image. If it's higher than 50% gray, it'll darken the image. If it's lower, it'll brighten it. And what I mean by that is this. You see how I have gray here? And if I go to 50%, it's right in the middle, right? Higher, brighter, lower than that, darker. If it's exactly 50% gray, it'll be invisible. And then we have these cool special effects blending modes, and then the component blending modes.
Ooh, you can make yourself a zombie.
Oh, yeah.
Zombie version.
There we go.
There was a zombie
right there.
version in there. There's another one too. I feel like I saw
That one?
That's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Oh, there. Going back to I saw that one.
This
the
one?
green. That
one?
kind of looks
Oh,
a
no.
little zombie-ish.
All right.
The green.
That'll work. Anyway,
know.
so you have the component ones or whatever. But so I'm like, which one of these blending modes could I use to like really sell the effect of wrinkles? Then I realized the problem with this is that I'm also working with color, right? Because all pixels are composed of hue, saturation, and brightness, right? Hue is basically what color it is. See how I'm dragging this slider? Hue, what color it is. Saturation is how intense the color is. And then brightness is obviously how bright it is, right? So when I'm working with that blending mode, I'm also working with hue, saturation, and brightness, but I only want to work with brightness. So I thought, well, why don't I just disregard the color? So I'll make a black and white adjustment layer. It just gets rid of the color, right? So now, when I work with blending modes, I'm only looking at the luminance values, which is great, because now I can actually get a really cool, wrinkle effect on my body, without doing all that other work that I did before.
Yeah, it's not distracting. Color
right.
isn't distracting from your goal of just blending in
Exactly.
wrinkles.
So then I could go and just look for one that works. Oh, and by the way, I just thought of another trick. If you, I think this is, Paul, that there's 8 special blending modes in Photoshop. Those guys right there.
Okay.
Do you know what they do, by any chance?
Well, the other one, it's not a shortcut key.
No.
They have probably, I give up.
So I'll show you those 8 blending modes there. There are 8 blending modes in Photoshop that, and I don't know if this is gonna be the best picture for it, but if I were to paint with, white and then change the blending mode to color dodge, which is one of the highlighted blending modes, you see that there?
Mm-hmm.
There's 2 things. If you change opacity, and I'll zoom in so you can see. So I'm changing the opacity. Just remember how that looks.
Yeah.
And then you change fill, they look different. So with those 8 blending modes, you get different blends when you change opacity compared to fill. Not only that, if you double click to the side of the layer and uncheck transparency shapes layers, you see how you get that, you see the outline here? Look at that. It's much softer, and you uncheck it, it's much harsher. So you can create sort of like a spotlight, specular highlight effect. So if I had a really bright light on my forehead, that's one thing that you can do. And the same thing is true with these 8 blending modes. They give you different blends when you reduce fill compared to opacity, and when you click uncheck that box, you get a different blend as well on the edges.
Okay.
So,
wow, that is cool. That's advanced stuff that we'll probably talk about over the course of the next couple days too.
Oh, for sure.
In terms of, that dialogue and those extra features.
Right. So.
But yes, you will get. You're going to get credit today. You get 2 credits a day for the next 3 days. Does that sound good? What we're asking.
Sounds good.
And by day 3, everybody will
take
graduates.
everybody
we'll
graduates.
Have a ceremony, and we'll do a portfolio review and a graduation ceremony.
That's right.
Because this is good.
And the reason that I brought up those 8 blending modes was because I don't know what's gonna work on your image, on my image. I'm thinking hard light is probably the best one, but maybe if I chose vivid light and that's the better one, but the effect is too strong. If I reduce opacity, I know that I get one result, and if I reduce fill, I get a different result. You see that? So then it's just a way of giving you more options on how to blend your pixels. But for me, I think that hard light is probably the best one. If I disable the layer, it looks okay. Obviously, we need to do a lot more work, but
it's not bad though.
Just for one layer,
surprised.
non-destructive, pretty cool. And the next step, because I know people are probably thinking this like, okay, well that's cool, but the colors are all like really not there, right?
Yeah, that's true. Compared to
so
the original.
So remember, we made everything black and white. So how do we add? Remember the 3 components, right? Hue, saturation, and brightness. We got the brightness down. So how do we add hue and saturation? Well, we'll use blending modes, of course. I can duplicate that layer, bring it to the top, and hue, saturation. Instead of creating 2 layers, I just use color. Color is hue and saturation together. Color and when I disable it, you can see, and actually let me put it above this there.
Okay, so it takes the color
From
of...
my original layer,
Okay.
color and hue, and it looks much more realistic. So now all I really have to do at this point is just fine tune, right? So now that I match all this stuff, I can just actually just make this into a black layer mask completely. Oops, I made it white. Alt backspace to fill with foreground color, option delete on the Mac. But anyway, so now with the brush tool, I can just start painting in, you know, wrinkles. See that?
And right now you're just painting in the wrinkles. You're not worried about the color.
No.
Cool.
Yeah, that comes in a later point.
And on this note, do you turn off the layer above, the color layer?
You can. One thing
know.
that I didn't mention though, and actually I'm glad you asked about turning off the color layer, is that you can see that his skin tone is much brighter than mine. So really what I would do is I would probably create like a levels adjustment layer, clip it to a layer below, and then just, I said levels and I went into curves, I think. But you know, same difference.
Yeah.
You know,
I like
just kind of match
Okay.
the skin tone. See that now? How his skin tone is basically the same as mine, more or less. And if I enable the color, see that? It brings back my skin tone.
That looks so good.
See that?
I like how you're kind of breaking this down. You're working on different parts. You're like, okay, we're going to work on the wrinkles. Well, then we'll work on the coloring.
Yeah.
And then details and all
Because
that
the
stuff,
way
so.
that I did it originally was working on everything together, and that gives me less flexibility. I've noticed that I developed my workflow is much different now than it was then. Like before, I just did everything together
At once,
Yeah. And now, for whatever reason, I always separate things into components, right? Because I guess I'm very like, I don't know, I just like controlling things in general, like in my everyday life. So when it comes to Photoshop, I also, you know, try to get as much control as I can. And the way of getting a lot of control is to separate every component as much as you can.
Yeah.
Obviously, in some projects, you just don't have the time or the budget or whatever. But you know, if it's possible, then I do it. And yeah, so at this point, I'm just painting in, you know, see there how I really didn't mesh the nostrils. So what I would do in something like this is, let me just name my layers just so that I know what I'm selecting. So original.
And by the way, while he does that, keep in mind we have the challenge submission deadline. We have less than 30 minutes to create some awesome album art. And you can check out the challenge tab. We'll review those in less than 30 minutes.
Perfect. So if you want to match things better, because I just use those handles with warp, but you can use liquify. So you can go to liquify. And then right here where it says view options, you can select, I'm sorry, not view options, backdrop. You can just select the original layer I just named and zoom in, I don't know, maybe at 100%, maybe more. And then you can see I can change the opacity between the original image and my photo. So then I can just use the for warp tool to, you know, just match, you know, the nostrils, the eyes, and everything just, you know, a little bit better. So see his lips.
I don't remember. I don't know if show backdrop was in the original release of Liquify, and I want to say it wasn't.
In the original release of Liquify, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Because I remember doing that a lot. In it, you're almost doing it in a black room. You can't tell what you're really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I feel like most of the time when you're liquefying, you're doing it to match something else, line stuff up.
Yeah. Man, that's like a really good trivia question. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it was. And by the way, like, did you notice that, by the way?
What was that?
When you first launched it, just so everybody knows, filter, liquefy, how it recognized his face.
Oh, yeah, we're going to talk about that later.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Later, we have so many fun things.
How much time do we have? Because I don't know if we have time to finish this.
Continue?
Continue.
I'm gonna shut up.
No, please.
25 minutes, we're going to review submissions. But we have 30 minutes to review what we have, and then so we might have some time to work.
Perfect. So I'm gonna keep painting. Oh, see, this always got me. Like, I have the brush tool selected. This is a fun story, really. So I have the brush tool selected, and I'm like, wait, what's my brush? And I'm making the brush larger, making it smaller. It's not coming out. Like, what happened to my brush? Like, why isn't it showing? I actually just accidentally hit the caps lock key. So if you have the caps lock key selected, you go into the what is it called? The target view or whatever of the brush tool. So you can actually see the preview. See that? How I'm making the brush larger and smaller.
Oh, it's your caps lock
Caps
that make
lock.
it disappear.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
And I actually uninstalled, like, I don't know, Photoshop 7 at one point because I didn't know that the caps lock key didn't, brought it back. And
I
I
think I've had that happen to me before too, by the way.
And people like, I've told this story recently. People are like, "Oh, why don't you just Google it?" And I was like, "Google? This is like 2001. There's no Google then."
Yeah. Oh, I'm into it.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's.
And then you can, in preferences, you can turn it on so both appear.
Yeah.
I think you can adjust that.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah.
All that fun stuff.
No.
Anyway, so I'm just gonna quickly just keep painting in. Look at that.
Just do it. Just like
do
what
it.
you went to so many trips to Hawaii, just out in the sun.
Yeah.
Just not using any
Hawaii,
sunblock
not at all.
at all. Just years out there.
Years, man. So
is this
another thing that I'm gonna do is because I'm trying to match the my original skin tone, just because there's really harsh shadows that were not there on the original image. So I can reduce those by selecting the image here and just using the dodge and burn. Dodge brightens pixels, burn makes them darker. So I want to brighten pixels. Which pixels? The shadows is what I want to brighten. So I'm just gonna paint, just reduce those shadows so they match the original.
I feel like this is like Dorian Gray. Like picture of Dorian Gray is what you're working on. This takes on all the aging for you as you don't look nearly that old. But this is good, dude. You're gonna be a good-looking older man too. Even look at that. That's looking really good, man. Already.
Thank you. Anyway.
But wear sunblock, everybody.
Yeah, sunblock.
That's the message for the day.
That's
your
the
big tip isn't in Photoshop. It's wear sunblock. Even right now, we put on sunblock because you never know. As a dermatologist would say, there's probably light sun. You know what I'm saying? I'm exaggerating, but I'll shut up. Continue.
Yeah, sure.
There was like, you don't know. Even if you don't spend time outside, you need to put on sunblock. But sunblock only lasts for a certain amount of time. So if you put on sunblock in the morning, you don't have that protection in the afternoon, supposedly.
Okay.
And it expires too. So, but I don't know if this is the sunblock companies telling me this, and it might be because
like that. Isn't that like the rinse and repeat? Like use double the shampoo. You only need it once. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah, it could be that easily.
Yeah.
But again, I listen to that stuff.
Yeah. Hey, man, better safe than sorry, right?
I don't go outside ever.
Yeah. Like
we're always inside.
Oh, wait, Paco's not here. What?
He's probably outside. He has. I feel like I should take up smoking just so I go outside.
Yeah.
Just so I get time outside.
Yeah.
Is that wrong?
No.
Continue. Another thing, don't smoke because that's bad for your skin too.
Yeah. Actually, we've been talking a lot about sunblocking and all that stuff. So we'll take a small break from here and I'll show you how to remove wrinkles because I'm showing you how to add wrinkles, but what if you want to remove them? So I'll quickly show you guys a technique that I like using that I don't see a lot of people use.
Okay, into it. Let's do it.
So let me see. Okay, this guy's got some nice wrinkles that'll work great. So to remove wrinkles, most people use the spot healing brush tool, which is a great tool. And you can just, click and drag and, it removes the wrinkles. Now, sometimes, and I don't know if this is the best example for it, when you paint over wrinkles, you also introduce, like right here, you also introduce texture that you don't necessarily want. So you don't get to keep the original texture of the image. And the reason is because you're just doing like a general adjustment, right? But a lot of times you actually have a specific thing that you want to remove. And what I mean by that is, have you ever seen this option here called mode? If you click on mode, you have different blending modes. And the ones that I like using for removing wrinkles is either darken or lighten. And I'm using the word wrinkles, but I really mean blemishes or distractions, right? So the first thing you have to do is look at your image and think, is your blemish, distraction, or wrinkle darker or brighter than the skin tone? In this case, the wrinkle is darker. So I want to lighten it. So then when I lighten, notice that I keep the original texture of the image without affecting anything else. See that original texture of the image. And notice what happens here. I'm not gonna be able to remove that hair because the hair is bright. So see that, so I can remove that wrinkle. And actually didn't do that good of a job there, but let me make the brush smaller. And it still didn't do a good of a job, so I gotta make it a little bit smaller.
Can you try to remove that hair with
darken?
Just for
fun, yeah. Here we go.
Wow, look at that.
There we go.
See?
Yeah, so lighten or darken. And sometimes, especially with him, and this is probably not the best picture, but there's like maybe here, these wrinkles, I'm gonna go to lighten, and that way I get to keep like the original, like, you know, hairs that he's got on there. So that's usually what I like to do to remove blemishes. I use the spot healing brush tool, but I always change the blending mode to lighten and darken. Also, I notice that I have my brush set to 100% hardness. Usually I have it at 0%, so it's just a softer transition. Mm-hmm. Yep, so that's how I would remove wrinkles in Photoshop.
That looks good, man. Yeah, that's good. I think I've made the mistake of maybe overdoing it, and the edges get a little blurry, is what happens with this. So I think the darken and lighten will help with that. Yeah. Right? So, perfect. So,
awesome.
Again, less than 20 minutes for get your challenge submissions in.
So one thing that I want, and now that we're in that topic, I don't. Since I'm gonna composite in some hair, I don't want this hair strand coming down my forehead. So we're gonna use that same technique.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, but you know, like.
Cool. But yeah, you can switch.
Yeah, we can just remove it. So with that layer selected, I'm just gonna use the spot healing brush tool. Thank you. And I'm just gonna remove that guy. See right now it's not really removing it because it's on the lighten mode. In this case, I would just change it back to normal and just, the problem was that I'm using this duplicate. See that?
Yeah, I see that.
Sorry.
That's another
so
thing we'll talk about later.
So I'll just delete that, duplicate it again now that I have the new pixels, and just change it back to...
Tim's saying you could also work on a new layer and do a sample all layers.
Yeah, so...
I would say you could do that if you're not confident in your skill. No, I'm just joking.
No, you can do that. The only reason I'm doing that here is because I got too much stuff going on. So I just
figured, and honestly, like, when am I going to need to bring back that little blip? Like, to some degree, working destructively is not a bad thing, but it's really your personal judgment call. And by the way, Tim, you're awesome. I'm glad you pointed that out.
Yeah, no, it's a good call. And just to tell people what he's talking about is if you create a layer and with that selected, notice that nothing really happens. But if I check sample all layers, then I sample all the layers and generate new pixels based on the layers below. So that's what he was referring to, which is a really good tip.
Yeah, good job, Tim.
Yeah,
good. You get one credit for that. Congratulations.
He graduates.
He's
early.
like, he already knows way too much.
So this is the gentleman whose hair we're gonna use to replace my hair. So I actually, this is probably not gonna be as in depth.
I don't know if I trust this guy. I'm just saying that right now.
Why not?
Something about it. Something about this guy is that creepy smile.
I just want to show people, just because I have like a 20-whatever-minute tutorial on how to change hairstyles. So see that right here. I'm gonna make sure that the volume's down. See, so in this Photoshop tutorial, I show people how to do hair replacements, and it's
nice.
15 minutes just on that. So just in case I don't cover everything here, you'll be able to see it in that video. And once again, my YouTube channel is Photoshop Training Channel on YouTube, of course.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna copy that hair.
I don't trust that guy.
He's got nice hair though.
It's creepy.
And I'll just, place it on my head. And actually, see how my hair parts on that side? I'll just flip it horizontally and try to, match it as best as I can. And that's really what it is. Like, the Photoshop techniques, like they're really simple. Like I already showed you like all like the cool stuff. All we're doing now is just the fine tuning, just making things look right. And you're gonna have to let me know how we're doing with time, because that'll tell me like how fast to move on this.
You just work away. It's
just
fun watching.
Work away.
Man.
So I'm just gonna go a little bit faster here. Like I'm gonna pretend that you guys are not here, and I'm just gonna super quick.
And I love seeing that. I love seeing how like just pretend like we're not here. You're just at home. I'm just cranking away.
Yeah. Oh man. Then I'm gonna go super fast.
Bring it.
And bring it. I probably would use like, I don't know, select and mask here. So even though I already have like a cutout, I usually just hit like Control, to make a select. If I hit Control and click on a layer thumbnail, it makes a selection of the active pixels, not the transparent ones. And even though I already have the cutout, I clicked on select and mask so that I can come in here and just, remove that hair.
And point out what tool are you using right now?
I'm using the Refine Edge mask, and if you don't know what that means, then I don't know. No, just kidding. If you click on,
it's fun to introduce it to people.
yeah.
Right.
So right now, see, like if you hover over the tool, it'll say Refine Edge Brush. So like, what does that mean?
But
So basically, Photoshop analyzes like the edge of your selection to try to like remove the background from the foreground. And if you want to see it, you can just click on Show Edge. So I'm just telling Photoshop this is where to focus on the edge. See, that's what I just painted. See that? That's what I'm painting. So Photoshop is focusing on that edge. And then actually you can, if you start adjusting like all these sliders, you can see the edge. This is the edge detection, so I can actually make the edge larger. And Smart Radius. So right now it's basically like a stroke, right? Like it's pretty much even throughout the whole layer, except for the parts that I painted on. That's the stuff that I'm adding. But I can also tell Photoshop to use the Smart Radius. So Photoshop analyzes the image and it like tries to decide, like what is an edge. So in some cases you might, in this case it's not a good example, but you might see the edges like right here. So now that I increase the radius, you can see how it's no longer just a stroke. In some parts it's thicker, in some parts it's thinner, because Photoshop is trying to determine the smart radius, what the actual contents of the image are. So anyway, I don't need that. You can actually see when I uncheck it, when the smart radius is off, it's just like a single stroke. When it's on, it's like jaggy and stuff. But anyway, so I don't need this for what I'm working on. So I'm just gonna disable the Show Edge, and I can just keep working with this. And sometimes it doesn't do a good job, and that's fine. You can just paint it away with actually the minus. And I'll just paint that away. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Like I usually don't even worry about my layer mask being perfect until I know for sure that I'm gonna use the layer mask as I intended, because I don't wanna spend too much time on something I'm gonna end up not using. So for now, this is gonna be
I like the quick way.
Good enough. And then I can just create a layer mask. And what I would do in this case is two things. Number one is just fine tune it with the brush tool. And again, I'll go very quickly here. And I don't even have a Wacom. I actually got pretty good with the mouse, because for the longest time, I was like against the Wacom tablet. And now I love them.
Really?
But when I present, like I just don't want to carry a lot of stuff because I'm lazy.
Yeah.
So I just, I'm still good with the mouse.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna quickly do just a fade here, and I gotta bring back some of that forehead here. And why is it not showing? Oh yeah, it's right here. That's why. I was in the wrong layer. There it is. And look, those little details again. That's what I'll fix at the end. And I always like creating black and white adjustment layers just so that I can see the luminance values, because when you remove the color, you can already tell that the hair skin is much brighter than my skin. So then what I would do is just create a curves adjustment layer. Do that same trick I showed you guys earlier, just change it to luminosity so that I only affect the luminance values and not bump up saturation or adjust the colors in any way. Clip it to the layer below, and then boom, try to match the luminance values as best as you can. You're never gonna be perfect, and that's okay. Like when you start bringing in color and start blending in pixels, like, most people won't be able to tell. And
I'm into this. This is the biggest thing I've learned in the past 6 months from you and Aaron Nace and other people. Are these like check layers, like changing this to black and white, allowing you to focus on what you really need to focus on. So important.
Yeah, and Aaron's really good at compositing as well. So
he's.
And what I'm doing now is a color balance adjustment layer, just because his skin tone is a little too pink. So maybe I want to add, I don't know, yellow, red, and I'm just, adjusting it to try to match mine as best as I can, maybe in the highlights. And to be frank with you, a lot of this is just experimentation. Like, a lot of times I have a good idea of what could work, but that doesn't mean I'm right 100% of the time. So I do play around a lot with these things and see what works best. And that's before and after, and that's just a little improvement. And I was really mainly worrying about this about the skin tone, not the hair. So with black, I can just paint away like the adjustment on the hair, because I actually did like the original hair color. So that's before and after. And we have about what, 30 minutes?
Total 10 minutes to get your, before we review the challenge submissions. We review those in 10 minutes.
Tim wrote, because I'm lazy, my life motto. Well, that's why I actually got, I think I became efficient in Photoshop, because because when again, I used to work as a production artist, so we had clients always wanting to like, oh, you know what, we don't like this, we want this instead. And if you don't have your files properly set up, then it's more work for you in the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like not layers, not name, merge layers, you know, things like that. So if you get into like good working habits, then if you need to redo something, it's just so much easier. So.
Yep.
And somebody wrote, Aaron, we were talking about Aaron Nace from Flern on YouTube. He does good compositing work as well.
He's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so at this point, I'm just going to just paint away some stuff, just trying to figure out what I'm going to keep, what I'm not going to keep, adjust the hairline, you know, just use the arrow keys and all that fun stuff. Oh, something that I also wanted to do for this composite was, and I'll save it. I haven't been saving it, so I always like to save things. Like I did that instinctively. Like I wasn't thinking about like, you know, showing you stuff. I just instinctively click Control S to save because I do that often. I'm always saving. And obviously I got into that habit because I lost a lot of work before for not saving.
Yeah, although I will say that having the recovery files, you know.
Right.
It's funny because a lot of times on live streams, people will not save for like 2 hours.
Right.
And it takes somebody in chat. They're like, save the file.
Yeah.
And we're like, we've got for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So good job. Look at you.
Yeah, man, just saving. So I'm going to steal this guy's eyebrows, you know, because I think they look cool.
Oh, yeah. A little salt and pepper.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you want. That's good.
That's exactly what I want. So I'm just going to steal his eyebrows, you know.
Just rip and just...
Yep. So what I'm going to do here is... I'm just gonna, you can, by the way, you can click and drag on these eye icons to disable them. So like that way I don't get confused with all these layers. So I just disable them just so that I can see what I'm working on. I'm going to disable the color layer and I'm just gonna work with like the black and white. I'll place his eyebrows there. And this is exactly the same process as I did with the face. You know, I'm just gonna try to place them accordingly over my face. And also for the eyebrows, I think I will use, just because I want to work non-destructively with it and you'll see why. I'm going to convert it into a smart object. And I'm going to go into Edit, Puppet Warp, and I'm just going to create these pins by clicking, and I can control the eyebrow. See that? So I'm just going to try to match the...
Get that caterpillar.
Yeah,
right on where it needs to
there,
go.
You know. And obviously you can fine tune it all day long. Oh, here's a quick trick for you guys. You know that if you hold Alt Option on the Mac when you have a pin selected, you get this circle. Here, let me disable the mesh. Get that circle, and I think it might be better like on this one. You can see how you can rotate it. See that? So it rotates.
Nice.
So you can get better, what do you call them? Better distortions.
Cool.
Yeah, so and the reason that I converted it into a smart object is because it's if I decide that I don't like the shape of the eyebrow, I can double click on Puppet Warp. And then, oops, sorry about that. And then, you know, readjust them. But I like the way that works, so.
That's only if you didn't nail it. You're nailing it the first time out of the gate.
Hey, man.
Just nailing it, you know.
Nailing it. Yeah, and you know, I'm just gonna go now and do levels and... So this point tells you how dark your darkest pixel is. So you see this gradient here from black to white. This point is telling Photoshop your darkest pixel on that layer is going to be this shade of gray. In this case, I want to make the lighter pixels darker. So I want to change the white point and make it darker so that it matches my skin tone as best as possible. And then I'm just going to create a layer mask. And I'm sorry guys for going so fast. I just know we don't have a lot of time. So I'm just trying to get it done as much as possible. There we go. Something like that. And I'll enable the color. And I have old eyebrows. And the reason that we're getting that weird color there is because it's getting my original eyebrows. So I could do two things. I could paint over it, or I could just distort it so the old eyebrows cover the new ones. And actually, you know what I'll do is I'll drag it above the color layer. Just so that I can get that salt and pepper look. It would be more realistic because I was using the original color, so I think it was better to just drag it up.
Yeah, this is coming along like
there we
very
go.
Well,
and
it's going to be fun to compare this to the one you did.
Well, the one that I did originally took me several hours, and I wasn't talking.
Yeah. No, but I'm just saying, like, I'm already like, you're totally selling this for me.
Nice. And what I'll do is I'll also steal his ears because, he's got cool ears as well. I'm just going to go here. And you have to make that sound effect when you're using the selection tool, otherwise it doesn't work.
By the way, Jamil, yes, you could Photoshop a student's face on a rowing team. You can, we're giving you the tools, or Jesus is giving you the tools to do all the magic you need to do for whatever purposes.
Yeah.
Hopefully not nefarious is the thing. But I will say, if you don't ever tick off a Photoshop artist.
Don't do it. Ask my friends.
He's being nice. He's doing this to himself, but he...
Yeah.
Don't tick off Jesus.
Do not tick me off. Ask my college buddies, they'll tell you.
Right? I've always liked my favorite, I don't know. My favorite little trick to do on people is, and I only heard about this years ago, you go into every photo, and for your friends, your one friend that you're always taking photos with, you just make them look a little bit green or a little bit sickly. And you it's a long play.
A tiny
just
little
a little bit, not enough to really bring, and you just do that over the course of 6 months. Somebody did that, and it was the funniest thing. It wasn't blatant, it was over time.
It was
you
just
always
1%.
Looked a little sickly, a little bit like a zombie.
Awesome.
Isn't that funny? That's
awesome. Yeah, man. See, I think that a lot of, because, I have a YouTube channel, I get a lot of comments, and I think a lot of people consider Photoshop almost like Instagram or like Snapchat, where you can just push a button and then boom, it's done. Mm-hmm. And what I like to tell people is that the details is what makes the difference, right? Because I could teach you any technique in 5 minutes, but then you have to build that technique on top of another one, on top of another one, on top of another one, refine it, and then 20 hours later you have something that looks good, So a lot of times you'll see me just focusing in just on that little pixel, try to get it right, or create a curves adjustment layer or levels adjustment layer, and then just adjust the tonality to see what works, and it's just all about making those tiny little adjustments that really make a difference, right? And you don't always get it right the first time. I have to constantly redo things.
Yeah. And then I noticed sometimes do you ever do this? You're looking at something, you'll zoom in and out, you'll cock your head to the side.
Yeah.
I don't know what
a cat, yeah.
I don't know what this move is.
Yeah.
But you're trying to approach it from a different perspective to see what's weird about it. Because maybe it's not, maybe it's working, maybe it isn't.
Yeah. And what I like to do sometimes is just do this. Zoom way out and see how does that look from far away? Does that look good? Come in. Yeah. And actually just reminded me of a compositing trick that a new feature of Photoshop, what was it, 2018, I forget. But back in the day, if I were working on this, because when you're drawing in a piece of paper, you sometimes flip your drawing upside down, and then you can kind of see mistakes that you made just because you're so used to just drawing something, right? So if you turn it around and flip it or whatever, you get a different perspective and you may spot some issues. So back in the day, you could do the same thing in Photoshop by going into image rotation, flip canvas horizontal. So flip the canvas horizontal, you will look at it and be like, now that I see it in this angle, I see some mistakes, right? This is great and all, but if you're working with a large file, this could take a while to render because you're actually distorting pixels. You're destroying pixels, so Photoshop has to render it. In this case, I'm only using a few layers. The image is really not that big. It's 1,300 pixels wide or whatever, so it's not a big deal. So in larger composites, it is a big deal. So in Photoshop CC, I think 2019, we got the flip horizontal view, which flips it, but it's just it's just the view. I'm not really distorting pixels. View. Yeah, so view, flip horizontal. See that? Just the view.
Never even noticed that.
Yeah.
That was in there.
Yeah, so that's new. I think it's 2018, 2019, whatever it was. But so with that composite for Adobe Stock, there was no way I was gonna do a flip horizontal. I would have been there 20 hours waiting for that thing to flip. But with this, it'll flip just like that.
Yeah, it's easier to look at it in a mirror.
Yeah.
That's that would be flipping.
But it'll work.
That would be a flip horizontal, as if you looked at it in a mirror, because it would reverse it, right?
Yeah. It'll work, man. As long as you see it from a different. Yeah, it'll work in a mirror.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it'll work in a mirror.
It would flip it, because everything left would be right.
Yeah.
Or if you need to rotate it, you just turn your laptop upside down.
Yeah. Clearly, we know what we're talking about.
No, this is good.
Yeah. So, I'm gonna have to be lazy here just to save a little bit of time. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna duplicate that right ear, and I'm just gonna flip it horizontal and just drag it there.
Boom, baby.
Boom. Obviously, you wanna have 2 different ears so it looks more realistic, but you know, we don't have time.
For the sake of time.
Yeah, for the sake of time. What do they call it on TV? Like TV magic, or you know, like on the cooking shows, whenever they bring out like a baked cake, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
Julia Child's move.
Yeah.
Let's switch to the other screen.
And there we go. And actually, you know what? Where's the hair? That second eyebrow is not looking as good as I want, but I can just, you know, transform it, bring it there.
Are those your lips? Those are his lips.
Those are my lips with his wrinkles.
Okay, gotcha. Did you eliminate? Are some of your lips showing through?
Yes.
Okay,
So I have a combination of both my lips and his lips.
Okay.
And basically, the next technique that I wanted to show, obviously I would work much more on the masking of the hair and all that stuff, but I want to get to what you were talking about, which was the liquefy with the face recognition.
Yeah.
So basically...
This is Photoshop magic.
It definitely is. Actually, let me enable these layers so that
Right.
it looks... There we go. So we'll just pretend that this is like perfect, right? And what I would do now is just select all my layers and then just convert them into a smart object, right? So now it's just basically a single layer. If I want to go back and edit those layers, I can double click on the layer thumbnail or smart object thumbnail. It opens up in a new tab and I can edit it. So what I would do at this point is go into filter, liquefy, and I can work on this image as a single photo. And basically what I want to do, and actually let me just increase the opacity just so I can see. Basically what I would do here is click on this little face tool, and Photoshop recognizes the face using Adobe Sensei, and now I can distort my face as a whole, and you know, try to make myself seem even older, because obviously the shape of your head and face changes as you age. So, you know, the hairline would probably be higher. I probably, you know, gain a little bit of weight, you know, maybe this comes down.
I have faith in you.
You know, something like that. Maybe click and drag, oh, that's too much. Like right now, I'm just, you know, clicking and dragging on these handles that appear, you know, in the image, but I can actually use the face aware liquefy options here, and I can just click and drag on these little handles if that works better for you. So maybe I can, you know, tilt my eyes a little bit, you know, something like that. Maybe my nose gets wider, you know, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Nose gets lower.
Fascinating.
You know.
That's very true. I mean, considering your, you know, a lot of your cartilage, right? So your nose and your ears get a little bit bigger over time. You know, you can increase and make those little adjustments.
Yeah, so, you know, you just make all these adjustments that you would, and, you know, like, for me, I could look like my grandfather or something like that. I'd be like, all right, I kind of look like him, so this probably happened to me. So...
Very cool. Is everybody getting that? So basically, in Liquefy, there's facial recognition.
Yeah.
And it'll do, if there's multiple people in the photo, you can manipulate all of them.
If you have multiple people, what would happen is, on this drop-down, you'll see, like, face 1, 2, 3, or whatever, and it reads from left to right. So face 1 should be the person furthest to your left, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, so you can see the...
Give yourself a little bit of a smile too, right?
Oh yeah,
like
so let me give myself a big smile, frown.
You already have the perfect, what you have already is like the perfect smile.
Yeah.
Like, it's good.
There you go, before and after. And
wow.
And press OK. So now the reason that I converted everything into a smart object is because now that I've made that adjustment, maybe I want to go and, you know, just add more wrinkles or, you know, do something else. I could double click on the smart object and it opens up in a new tab and I can make an adjustment. So like I could, let me see, where's that face here. I could paint in, I don't know, more wrinkles from his mouth, I think. Oh, did I get them all? I think I got them all already. All right, I'll just bring in wrinkles from another image. So like, let me see, I know I have this guy here. So maybe, I don't know, I want to add the wrinkles on his eyes to my eyes, right? So I could just come in here, make that selection, copy those pixels, go into, oh wait, here we go. Oh no, wait, it's a smart object, there it is. So I could just paste them on here, Control T to transform, and I'll just bring those down and place them where they should be, right about here. And I'll just try to match the luminosity. And like I'll disable the color layer so you can see the difference in luminance values. I already knew it was brighter, but I mean, some people might have not seen that. So I can just make those pixels darker to try to match my skin tone, and then create a layer mask, and paint in that better like that, so it blends those pixels in better. It's before and after, right? So we got those new wrinkles on the corner of my eye. I can bring that back up and double click on the hand tool to zoom out. Like if the effect is too strong, you can of course bring down the opacity, or do all kinds of different things to lessen the effect. The point is that now that once I save this smart object, when I go back into this image, that effect is applied on there. It looks like I forgot to remove the glasses from the hair, so I'll do that so it looks better.
Ah, okay, good catch.
Yeah.
Looks like Johnny Will Mines is saying there's nothing new, nothing I'm not familiar already. So you're not impressing him. Like, he knows it already.
He knows
by
it,
the
yeah.
way. Good job, Johnny. If that's the case, you are awesome. So.
Yeah. So actually here, let me see if I can show you something that most people probably don't know. So like, I've been using just cutting and pasting, right, to create wrinkles, but you can also use cloning techniques, right? And we all know cloning, right? So if you hold Alt Option on the Mac, you can click like on anything and then just pin those pixels in, right? And when you hold Alt and you hover over an area and click, you sample those pixels, and you can see the preview here. See that?
Love that feature.
See that preview, right? Well, Paul, that that you could rotate and scale the clone source. So if you hold Alt Shift and the greater than less than keys, Alt Shift, greater than less than keys, you can rotate the clone source. See that? That's Option Shift on the Mac. And
I didn't know that.
You can also do Alt Shift and the bracket keys to scale down the clone source. Alt Shift, bracket keys, and less than greater than keys.
Little one of you sticking out of your neck, which
Yep.
would be freaky.
Alt Shift and then the arrow keys to offset the clone source as well.
That's awesome.
So I hope that, I think Johnny was his name, I hope that one's new for him. If not, then who knows?
Yeah.
And by the way, if I'm not mistaken, that only works with North American keyboards. So sorry for the international viewers who may have a different keyboard.
Yeah. We don't know all the keyboards.
Yeah. But don't worry, you can still access that under Window, Clone Source, and you have the offset here, the scale here, and the rotation here, and also a reset button. So like with a keyboard shortcut, as far as I know, there's no reset. So if you want to reset it, you do have to go into the clone source and click on reset, and then it resets.
That's awesome. Challenge submission deadline's up.
Let's do it.
All right, so we're gonna dive into this. I know I got kind of roped into what Jesus was doing, but now it's time to check out the challenge submissions. So as you can see right here, you might be in chat, go to challenge. This is what we're talking about. There's two things going on, makes kind of a special day. It's all about creating an album art cover artwork, right? Excuse me, album cover artwork for this challenge, but we have our own specific challenge today where we're going to be giving away Creative Cloud to our favorite one.
Nice.
It's about 9 submissions, but you can go to WooBox, by the way, just click right there, boom, and go up to View Gallery. So I encourage you to do this as well. Yeah, we have a couple more in too. All right, so you'll see this Lake Stovall because that's what the contest is all about. That's the artist's name.
Oh, nice.
There's a certain creative brief around that, but we'll dive into this. It's like vibrant, rich colors, some other things. But here's Dima's entry. They gave us these textures too, which are awesome. Like
Super
these
cool.
paint splatters are awesome.
Super cool.
So yeah, super fun. Dima, I'm into it. Very nice and vibrant. Let's go to this next one. This is from Dennis Brunn.
Nice double exposure effect going on there.
Good choice of font too. I think that's super nice. And this is the artist, obviously, like back there. Could probably throw some blend modes at this and just see what happens.
Yeah.
Might be kind of fun too.
Maybe also like a gradient overlay or something like that.
Yeah, honestly, like I don't know if they're looking for pointers, but like anytime it looks kind of semi-transparent, and you're trying to do that with a vibrant color, might make it a little muddy.
Yeah.
So yeah, go with the blend mode direction. Bruno Di Paula. This one might be kind of large. Looks like awesome. Beyonce, Jay-Z on the run. Little paint splatter there. And just a great photo.
Nice, nice. Also,
cool.
shout outs to Colin Smith, Photoshop Cafe. He's on the chat. You can check out Colin on YouTube, Photoshop Cafe. Good
He's new
Photoshop
to
tutorials.
English isn't his first language, based on his comment right there.
Yeah, I don't.
What are you saying?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Dennis Brunn again. Look at that, getting better.
Nice.
I like that as well.
Yeah.
So I'll just kind of scoot over. That's super. I think it's super fun.
I really like the colors on that.
Yeah. Let's go to the next one. Jayin Zhu. This is really cool too. This is a smart move, huh? Like adding that black and white with these vibrant colors, that contrast. Smart move.
I love it. No, I love it. You know what that kind of reminds me of? Those rectangles. I don't know why I have this in my head, but the Bourne Identity poster from like the original movie. It was like these black lines covering his face.
Oh, really?
It
like
looks
identity,
a lot like
identity,
that. Yeah, it's really cool.
Good.
I don't know. I just know all these random things about movies. I'm embarrassed to say.
Hey, remember that one movie from
Remember
like
that
15 years ago?
They had a movie poster.
No.
Yeah.
They had this movie poster.
Yeah.
I love it.
Oh, I love the text on that one. Super cool.
This is the winner right here. This part.
Love that.
This, like, I don't know. You're making him look a little sickly, and I'm a little scared.
Yeah.
But I love it. Loving that.
Love it.
It's kind of like the previous look with the slicing up the images. They sliced up the text.
Yeah.
So, Bruno, good job. Sarah McCann as well. We are missing an L to the name, I think. But hey, what's that? It's a minor detail.
Hey, I didn't even catch it.
But like, yeah, if you're gonna, yeah.
I like
Yeah, I think it's cool. It has a lot of energy to it.
it. Yeah, it's just the how the colors are. I don't know. I feel it vibrating. I like that.
Yeah, vibrating. It's like a lot of
Yeah.
movement and kind of capturing a moment, which
Well,
is
actually,
really
there's a nice
cool.
little texture on that stroke that I didn't notice before.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice.
Look at that. And little maybe Kyle T. Webster brushes.
Yeah.
Something. Maybe. Very cool, Sarah. Ooh,
this is-
Claudies.
Claudia from Crib My Soul.
She was our guest a couple weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago or something like that. Yeah.
Whoa, they're like, whoa, professionals. Let's somebody else have a chance.
Yeah.
But of course, this is amazing.
Yep.
Oh wait, did she do this for that week? She did an artist promotional material.
So if you go back to the replay, you'll I don't remember exactly what she worked on with this artist. It might have been the logo, but she worked on this artist on the stream here 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So she's doing a couple things that are really cool here, by the way. Is like actually adding this in context. This is an album cover. I really like that font or text. It's like sometimes hard to do script.
Right.
Like picking that right script font is, you can easily fall in the Comic Sans area.
And I know a little bit more about this just because she was telling me how the artist, the Ione, was very much into like having things done a certain way. So I mean, I wish she were here she could talk about it, but this is a good example of like coming up with something that looks good to you that also pleases the artist, because sometimes whatever your client wants is not necessarily like what looks the best to you.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of
That's
back and
true.
forth and almost convincing that you have to do to get what you want.
And I think, who am I to comment on this? But I like there's a lot of overlapping, and playing with depth. I would almost play with that depth on this logo.
Yeah.
Like, is that overlap? Does he make this a little larger? Like, make it all embedded? Because it looks like this is kind of in the corner. But it's she made that logo too.
Yeah, during the stream. Yeah, I was actually, I was here day one, which I don't remember if she did the logo on day 1 or day 2, but.
Ashi Eunice, very cool, within context. That's a fun font, so this is a headline font, so you're using that font appropriately. Yeah, cool. I'd probably even shift this color maybe a little bit more, kind of, yeah, it looks great. Who am I to?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be quiet. Tyrone Henry. Music layers.
You know what? It looks like he used that almost that same technique I used here, but without removing the color, because that's more or less what you get when you put in, hard light on top of like another layer of the same, background or whatever.
I'm into it. I think he's really strong with color, because this is like a complete unit. It totally works. Picking, again, not picking color at random, but the color is obviously coming from the photo and all that.
You probably use color.adobe.com.
Yeah, into it.
I like this.
Diana Boyko. Part of the system. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, it looks great.
This is fun to look at.
Yeah.
Because there's like more. There's like words up here. Trust no one.
And what's that? Like, what is on that? Is that blood? What is that?
It blood? Yeah. Is that I really like this.
Yeah.
This is cool.
Like it.
Yeah, I'm into it too. Good job, Diana.
Ooh.
Axel Zapata. I like that. Kind of going music theme, coming out in and out of the ears.
You know what? I love it. The one thing that I'm like, man, I wish we had a funner font. You know what I mean? Like everything's so
fun.
like, that just looks. It looks too, I don't know, too corporate for like the rest of the image, I think.
Yeah, I could probably be like tightened up more.
Yeah, but I mean, the actual image is great. I love it.
I think what's kind of working here is I feel like there's some glow here. I'm really liking this part.
I like the flow too. I like how my eyes keep going
Leading
up and
your
down.
eye.
Yeah, that's great.
You do. That's good, because you do actually have to watch out for corners, because corners can be just considered 4 arrows.
Yeah.
And you don't want the eye to go away, but you could see this is pointing in at him. So the flow of this is freaking spot on.
And the background has flow as well, which I like.
Yeah, good call. And these spheres?
Yeah, I was going to say, what is that?
Good.
Is that
this? Like these little things? Like this would have shown up way too much if, obviously, Axel, you're good at what you do.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Good job. Oh, and that is, those are all the entries that we have right now. So we don't have to worry about picking a winner right now or anything. But obviously some cool ones. Any shout out you want to give to any of these? Like you got some favorites?
Oh man, I hate to pick a favorite because there's, you know what? I'm just gonna go with my
or just
my
go pick
gut instinct. I really like that one.
Okay.
That one.
Yeah.
Because I can actually like see that, like, I mean, do they even have Tower Records anymore? Like, walking down Tower Records stores and seeing that, it looks like it's ready to go out.
Yeah.
I think
it's way cool. And if Diana did this like by hand or if it's a font, whatever, good job.
But you know what? I
hate
picking ones because there's like 3 or 4 that I really like, maybe even 5. But
hey, that's okay.
That one's the one that
digging this
stands
one.
out. Yeah,
I like this one's nice by Axel. I think this one is really ready for print.
Yeah,
like J-Yin. Yeah, you're probably happily employed as a designer already.
Yeah,
based on that.
Yeah,
and just fun,
Yeah. Like one of the ones that I like in terms of like concept, I think it just needs a little refinement is this one. Like that one, I think just needs a couple things, and because I really like the color, I really like the double exposure, I like the texture on the left hand side. I just feel like it needs a little bit more fine tuning just to be really solid. But I like where it's going.
I agree. I mean, good use of font down here in white, but yeah. Great work, everyone. Everybody's
nice.
Super strong. Fantastic. And you have to admit, it's got to be fun. Fun. Let us know if anyone else has a favorite out there. I don't know which one Colin
that-
says is his favorite.
I don't know. But
Hey, by the way, like Jay says, I'm such a newbie, I don't stand a chance. By the way, this is the whole goal. We're gonna. Who knows where the best one's gonna come from? And when I say best, who knows the one that we're gonna pick?
I don't think you saw my
Right?
first composite.
And I don't think you saw his first composite.
So if you switch over, like this is where I started. I don't know if they'll be able to switch over. I think Paco fell asleep. There I am. So
yeah.
So yeah, we were all noobs at one point.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Feeding him a biscuit.
Yeah.
I love it. So that's the goal. Is we're trying to give everybody a reason to dive into Photoshop and just have some fun.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. It's all about having fun. That's right. Like I legitimately have a lot of fun. Like people tell me, "What do you like to do for fun?" I like to work on Photoshop. I'm like, no, that's your work. I was like, no, that's what I do for fun.
And it goes back to your very first point you made about your portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
It's like all of those being personal projects, fun projects.
Yeah.
And now that's what people pay you to do.
Exactly.
Do your fun projects.
Paul signs my checks, by the way.
I'm just like, wow, gladly.
Yeah. So since I see Colin Smith on the chat, I want to make some fun of our good friend Colin Smith in Photoshop. Remember earlier talking about like messing with your friends?
Yeah.
Let's mess with our friend.
Oh man, go for it.
Let's go for it. So
we have like just a time check. We have about 3-ish
Colin,
minutes.
you know where I'm going with this, Colin.
You got 3 minutes.
Oh, 3 minutes. Oh, okay. Okay, so like I want to close all my tabs. So I'm just gonna hold Alt and click on it, and then it'll like close all of them. Oh, I'm sorry. Is it Shift? Yeah, Shift. No, if you hold Shift and click and close one tab, it closes all of them. But then it might ask you to save or not.
Yeah.
So I have this file here, which is our good friend Colin Smith, and he's trying to get a new Facebook profile. Maybe Tinder. I don't know. And like he hasn't been hitting the gym. So with our friends at Adobe Stock, we found that image.
That is what he looks like. He just doesn't have that picture.
Yeah.
He actually does have this muscle, but we only have so.
Yeah, because I don't have a picture of him without a shirt.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem. But that's what his abs look like.
So like, how do I quickly get Colin into that guy's face, right? So what I'll do is I'll just quickly make a selection of Colin's face. And I know we only have like 3 minutes, so I hope it works on the first time. And I'll just duplicate that, get Colin in there, and place him right about here. And I'll zoom in. And Colin, I hope you're watching, because this is your favorite demo that I do. So I'm just gonna try to match them as best as I can, using the same technique I used earlier, right?
Yeah, I can do it.
Yeah. So just trying to get Colin in there as best as we can, right? And there we go. And what I'm gonna do is I hate using the eraser tool, but since we don't have time, we're gonna use the eraser tool. And we're just going to like make sure that none of his skin is covering the hair, right? So there we go.
Sweet.
There we go, Colin. Colin, you look great. So how can we blend, the background and the foreground super quickly in Photoshop without like doing too much crazy stuff? So I'm just gonna let me see that I caught some pixels there. So I'm gonna load the selection there really quickly. I'm gonna go into this layer, and I'm going to contract the selection, make it smaller by, I don't know, we'll do 3 pixels. And then I'll hit the delete key to get rid of those pixels. Then I have Colin there. So there's this super cool tool in Photoshop where you can merge panoramas together. So like you take multiple photos and then Photoshop merges them for you. And in reality, what it's doing is just looking for similar pixels, matching luminosity and things like that. So we can actually use that technology on this to make a composite of Colin's face on that body. And you can go into Edit, Auto Blend Layers, Panorama, Seamless Tones and Colors, Content Aware Fill and Transparent Areas, hit OK, and if I did it correctly, we should get a nice composite of Colin in...
That was like one selection.
And done. So match the tonality, the skin tones, and all of that. And also, check this out, it did it non-destructively. We have a merged layer, so we still have,
the original.
those there. Yep.
Oh, nice.
So Colin, you have a brand new Facebook profile picture if
or
you want
Tinder,
it, man.
or whatever dating app you're probably using.
Exactly. So
we know you.
So there you go.
So congratulations to everybody. Everybody got 2 credits today in our imaginary Jesus University. Congratulations. This was recorded as well. Check that out later on. We've got a full day of Photoshop magic. We got John Olson up next, Vanessa later on. So stick around with us. Big thank you to Jesus. So glad you're coming back tomorrow morning.
I'll be here tomorrow and the day after.
And the
thanks,
day
man.
after.
And also, thanks, Colin. He's on the chat for letting me make fun of you. Photoshop Cafe. Check him out on YouTube.
Yeah, Photoshop Cafe. Thanks for being a good sport. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, man.
Hanging out. We'll see everybody. We'll be right back. So stay there.
Thanks, everybody.
See ya.
See ya. Awesome.